coordinator will do it, at least within the office and in terms of turnaround time. So how does this work? We serve the government, the entire government as you understand it. Ministries, commissions, authorities, local governments, corporations, anything public, but also private persons. Many times people will come up to bring to attention an issue involving them and a certain government institution, as long as it's of a legal nature. So they bring their documents, they file their documents, they file their requests for guidance. So when they are filed, the documents are scanned and immediately transmitted to either the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, the Minister, the Permanent Secretary, and wherever he or she will be, they will access this work, wherever they are, and they're able to assign it. So when they assign it, it will go through the entire system immediately. Now, it doesn't end there. The person assigning the work is able to log in and see the progress of this work.
Okay.
And we have what we call a client charter. It's a performance standard we set for ourselves. It's a promise we gave to the people of Uganda. And we gave ourselves 14 days within which to receive, deal with an issue, and respond. 14 days, that's basically 14 calendar days, and that includes weekends. So in reality, we have about 10 days. So, so that's very important as far as the system is concerned, because the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, anyone is able to log in and say, I sent this work on such a date. I expected it back on this date. It is not yet back. Where is it? Because we have different levels in the office. They're able to track that. Now, that has a positive effect, of course, on our service delivery, because it means we are all on our toes and we discharge our responsibilities within time, which in turn has a positive impact on the way other government, our clients, the institutions, perform their duties. Because when we respond in time, if it's about reviewing a contract and giving it the green light, it means procurements are done on time and programs are implemented within time. And that, of course, has a positive impact of the overall performance of the government and service delivery.
Let's have a look at that, the use of technology in relation to reduction of case backlog. Because at the mention of the judiciary, the very first conversation that comes through is case backlog. It's been a song, it's been launched, and I think we're having remixes over it. Let's look at the conversation around case backlog and how is technology enabling that in essence?
Well, technology, like all other revolutions before, I mean ICT, it's about eliminating the human factor, and especially the things the human being cannot do, things that are not humanly possible. For example, if the principal judge wants to communicate something to a judge based in Masindi, when you have technology, then you don't have to first get a driver, you have to get fuel in order to carry that file or letter to Masindi. You know, you're able to communicate in real time. But also, you are also able to cut out procedures, what the public might call bureaucracy, by being able to receive things from wherever you are and also communicate from wherever you are. Maybe I should also add that, of course, case backlog is explained by many things, not just the absence of technology. Or, so these are the other factors. We still have that, why we still have that challenge, which is being worked on. The doctor will talk about that. For example, through progressive recruitment of judges and other judicial officers, deal with backlog. Of course, as we said, society becomes more litigious. But I know not every case that is in court is supposed to be there.
You're right.
But of course, someone has to sit down and look at it and then render a decision. So, but it's work in progress, I believe, and they should talk about it.
Sure.
But definitely technology has made a big difference in that area, especially by enabling litigants and courts to communicate more efficiently. Yeah.
All right. Dr. Rose, I'd like you to start from the issue around case backlog and how we are going to overcome this particular monster. And then also you will be able to speak about what mechanisms you do have as a Judicial Service Commission to handle complaints or disciplinary matters within the judiciary. Because, I mean, as much as they're judicial officers, they come from the same community where we all live.
Yeah. To reduce on case backlog, of course, that is a tall order for the judiciary.
Okay.
The most
that doesn't sound like good news to the public.
the most enabling is the budget.
Okay.
Do we have the budget? Because previously, you know, these courts were limited in terms of space and time. Locations, you know, somebody would have to travel all the way from, say, Masaka and come to Kampala.
Yes.
To a court in Kampala. Now there are courts in Masaka and beyond, and government is continuing to establish more and more courts further on in the spirit of bringing services closer to the people.
Yeah.
And to staff those courts is the work of the Judicial Service Commission. And we have to look at the budget. Is there enough money to enable us to recruit them in terms of paying them salaries, giving them other requirements? So it all depends on the budgetary allocations to the judiciary. Once the judiciary has money, they declare and we recruit. And we have done very well in terms of meeting the demands of the judiciary, but it's still a tall order.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe there I could also add something,
because
we are also stakeholders in that space.
Yes.
And we have also taken measures to see that there is a reduction in case backlog. Just like the judiciary, we have been trying to expand and bring services nearer to the communities, but also and also try to catch up with the courts, because since we are the biggest defendant in terms of numbers of suits that are filed against a particular, one person, the government is the most sued.
Yeah.
So if the courts are operating properly and then the Attorney General is not doing the same, then it comes to nothing. So we are also expanded. Over the last 20, 15 years, we've been establishing regional offices to make sure that we have people who will defend and represent the Attorney General in those courts, which is welcome news for both the judiciary and litigants in the different parts of the country. So presently we have offices in Arua, in Guru, in Moroto, in Soroti, in Mbale, in Fort Portal. We are soon opening offices in Masaka, Kabale, Iganga. All this really, and then I think later we shall be going to Masindi. All this is about not only taking the services closer to the people, different services that we offer, but also contributing to the fight against case backlog in the courts of law.
Okay. And Dr. Rose, I'm coming back to you on the issue of complaint handling and the disciplinary matters within the judiciary. You've heard of allegations of bribery, allegations of corruption. You know that infamous saying of Omwavu tasinga musango? Because I know we're talking about justice for all. In the cases where such happens, how does one seek redress? And how are you ensuring that there is discipline amongst judicial officers as the JSC?
First and foremost, there was that issue of ICT. And I also want to say that in JSC, we are getting there. And we have started with the recruitment function.
Okay.
We advertise, and all applicants apply online. So we have removed that contact between an applicant and a certain officer in JSC. You apply, we meet in the interview room if you are successful. So now coming back to the discipline of judicial officers, that is our core mandate, disciplining judicial officers. Yes, people may say, Omwavu tasingika musango, but you know, it depends on how you handle your case.
Yes.
Some of the litigants go to court without lawyers.
Yes.
Some may go to court with lawyers who are not even enrolled. And you know, there are small things where they get caught out. Sometimes they are caught out by time. But they can lodge complaints with the Judicial Service Commission. We look at the complaint, we wait, we look at where there was a breach of the law. Sometimes you find that really a person doesn't have to come to the Judicial Service Commission to lodge a complaint because of that independence of the judicial officer. So we advise the litigant. Sometimes we say, okay, maybe this is a case where you need mediation. And we advise the person to go back to court and seek mediation. Or a person is advised to appeal to a higher court. But now, if we evaluate the complaint and find that indeed there is merit, then we investigate. The investigation starts with now making the judicial officer against whom a complaint is lodged aware that there is a complaint against him, and we avail that judicial officer the contents of the complaint. We photocopy and say this complaint came in
against you.
Can you respond in 14 days? Some respond within 14 days. Others have to be reminded time and time again. So when we look at the response, again, we evaluate it. Sometimes we find that actually the judicial officer is not in the wrong, in which case we advise the complainant that there is no case here, there was no breach of the law. Sometimes we find that there was a breach of the law, and we take matters further. We go into a full investigation of the conduct of the judicial officer. There is an interface between the judicial officer against whom a complaint has been lodged with the Judicial Service Commission. And after weighing the matters, interviewing him or her, the commission may reach a decision on the sanctions or penalties. Some are not so big. Some are very big. But it also depends on the level. For example, if it is a judge, we make recommendations to the appointing authority to appoint a tribunal. If it's the lower bench, we weigh the offense. If it is a grave, the judicial officer may be dismissed from service. And we have done that before. Or if it's not so grave, we may say that we may recommend to the judiciary that the person be severely reprimanded or placed under strict supervision of a chief magistrate or registrar or whatever the case may be. And if it involved loss of finances, for example, we may recommend that the judicial officer compensates the complainant who incurred losses.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Still talking about access to legal aid services, especially for the low-income earners, and JB, coming to you on that. What is the ministry doing about it to ensure that there is access to legal aid services? Because it's quite also pricey to access legal aid services in the country as is, because that then also brings in your part as the ministry on regulation of the legal aid service providers. What is the status?
Well, one of the functions of the office, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, is regulation of legal practice in the country. And this is not just legal aid providers, no, but every person that is offering legal services in their private capacity is subject to regulation. There is an office, a specific one, a creature of the law, called the Law Council. And its job is to receive applications for establishment of law firms, including firms or our organizations, I don't want to use the word outfit, purely concerned with providing free legal services to indigent persons. Now that is very important because you want to be sure that the person who is actually setting up this service is qualified and has the right intentions. And that's why you need an office that's going to receive these applications, assess them, and approve or not approve based on its findings. So our contribution in this regard has been doing our best to ensure that when applications are filed, they are expeditiously considered and decided upon so that whoever has applied now can start doing work. But also, we've made a contribution in the sense that we have also saved the public from unscrupulous applicants by, from time to time, not approving these applications. Now, there is also, of course, the overall framework in the country that allows for private persons to offer these legal aid services. And the part of our contribution has been putting that framework in place, but also assisting. From time to time, we get requests from different intending service providers, legal aid service providers, for consideration and support in terms of recommendations, and which we do. And now, if you talk about figures, we have improved our approval rates for these providers of these services overall, not just legal aid, up to 85.1% performance in financial year 2021-2022, 92.5 in financial 2024-2025, and the results, as far as we're concerned, is better compliance and stronger supervision, and the improved quality of the legal aid services provided.
Okay.
When you have the right people providing the services, then the quality of the services is good.
It also goes up,
Yeah.
definitely, that's very true.
Yeah, but as I said, this is both for-profit and not-for-profit services. Yeah.
Are we seeing it better for the low-income earners? Because like I said, number one, it could be an aspect of, can I even be able to afford? But also, it comes to, is it the right person? Like Dr. Rose clearly said, I could be able to afford, but am I affording the very right person? But for me, the bigger conversation is about this Ugandan who needs the service, but may not be able to actually afford the cost of having one. Is the ministry thinking in that regard?
Yes, it's a policy matter that we have been looking at, and there has been debate as to whether or not we need to have legislation on that. One of the things that we are looking at as just an option is whether a fund can be put in place by the government to assist legal aid, to assist those that may not be in a position to hire their own lawyers. But as we understand, this is not a small matter. We are, I think, now close to 50 million people, and maybe 70% of those can be described as indigent.
Yeah.
Now, how much money would you need to actually assist
Cover them.
all of those? But we do what we can, and with time, that might be possible. And of course, we're also hoping that as the economy continues to grow, people will have enough incomes to be able to afford not just legal services, but many things. And but there's also emphasis, as my colleague says here, on alternative dispute solution.
Exactly.
There are programs within the judiciary, and we are part of those programs, where we're encouraging litigants, even when they have filed suits in court, to first try alternative dispute solution, which is much cheaper. Then we're also encouraging people to try other alternative dispute solution mechanisms. Arbitration. Arbitration may be almost equally expensive, but there the litigants have a lot of control, including the choice of the arbitrator. Maybe they'll choose one who is not very expensive. And also mediation outside of court, where they can resolve these issues without going through the long and expensive litigious process.
Okay.
There is a policy in place to encourage that. And the Ministry of Justice is really taking a very important role in that.
A very key one, especially at a point in time where many people sometimes consider the court as a punishment. That's why you said that sometimes not all the cases that are in the courts are actually even supposed to be making their way to the courts right there. But we're continuing with this conversation. We need to be taking a very short breather. When we do return, we're talking about justice for all. And one key concern is also about management of estates of the deceased. We've been in a political season. There's been a lot of conversation about war debt compensation. How is that going on? How is the ministry looking at it? But also on the side of the Judicial Service Commission, we want to also be looking at their contribution when it comes to efficiency and professionalism in the courts. That and much more is what we'll be paying attention to shortly when we do return from this break. Please do stay with us.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
The Front Bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, The judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Access to justice for all, the conversation is around exactly that, with a representation from the Justice and Constitutional Affairs Ministry together with the Judicial Service Commission right about now. As we went into a break, a lot of conversation was around issues of dealing with case backlog, aspects around alternative dispute resolution. Let me come back to you, Dr. Rose, especially on the issue of how the Judicial Service Commission is contributing to efficiency and professionalism in the courts of law. How are you dealing with that?
Thank you. First and foremost, through recruitment of competent judicial officers, they must be qualified, and when they are recruited, they have to be inducted into the system, especially by the judiciary, although sometimes the Judicial Service Commission also participates in the induction. And then the judiciary takes them through a series of continuous professional development, continuous training. They hold those conferences, they have key performance indicators. All that is done to ensure that the officer recruited by the Judicial Service Commission is competent. Then we also carry out compliance visits to courts. And when we pay those visits to courts, we not only stop at talking with the judicial officers, but also the clients of the courts. On the side, we ask them how they relate with the judicial officers and other staff of the judiciary. So after those conversations, we write reports and point out those issues to the judiciary which need to be ironed out. We also engage the judicial officers because our other core mandate is to educate. So there are so many things that the judicial officers are not aware of. So most times with regard to law, especially in the lower courts. So we educate them on matters of law and administration of justice, and that is aimed at improving their efficiency and professionalism while in court. We inform them about issues that may lead them to breach the law and they end up before the Judicial Service Commission. So that training emphasizes to them that they should aim at not being, reported to the Judicial Service Commission. But as you have been mentioning, Ugandans are, very litigative. One will always find something to complain about a judicial officer. Even when you read the newspapers, you find so many complaints leveled against the judicial officers. Sometimes we pick those complaints from the media, but we try to train them and say this and that will bring you before the Judicial Service Commission. Then we take a firm stand on those errant judicial officers in terms of discipline. If we find that you have breached the law and the regulations, because the regulations guide us on the penalties, and that breach is supposed to be addressed by a specific penalty, there is no negotiation about that. The right penalty is meted out.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Still talking about justice for all. In this day and age, conversations around management of deceased property is very important, and especially at a point in time where in the African traditional society, or even in the society as is right now, you can't just start talking about death. There is this feeling of when you talk about it, you're wishing it to yourself. And yet, it is very important. So we end up having people dying intestate, and there is always a lot of issues surrounding management of their estate. How is the ministry, or how has the ministry improved the management of estates of the deceased?
Okay, now, it's a cliche that the family is the foundation of society. When there is no peace in family, in families, then there is no peace in society, there is no peace in the country. So that's why the issue of the management of the estates of deceased persons, or even missing persons, is a matter for the government.
Okay.
And indeed, that falls under our remit as Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So there is an office specifically designated to deal with the management of estates of the deceased persons. It is called the Office of the Administrator General. I'm sure you have heard about it.
Yes, please.
And I think my colleague, the Administrator General, has been here to enlighten the public about that office and what it does. So we start from the basic point that the Administrator General has the primary right to intervene in an estate of a deceased person, even when that person has children or descendants, and administer that estate. Administration is about ensuring that the estate is distributed to the right people, and that there's no loss of that estate. So, as the Office of the Administrator General looks at a particular case, the objective is to ensure that there is lawful transfer of property. Now, who can benefit from an estate is a matter of There is a law called the Succession Act, and
Yeah.
it shows who can benefit from the estate of a deceased person, a widow, children, and other persons. When a person has died and they have left a will behind, it's all good. The problem is when they have not left a will behind, or when they have left a will behind, but that will cannot be implemented because it does not meet certain requirements of the law. Now, the Administrator General comes in as this impartial person exercising state authority to ensure that any disputes are resolved and that, indeed, as I said, the right people benefit from the estate of the deceased.
One would ask, how does a will become unimplementable? When I was the owner of the estate and I wrote that such kind of will before I left, those were my wishes.
One of the instances where you write it and you don't sign it, for example.
Okay.
It has happened many times. You may include in that will things that are not capable of implementation.
Okay.
You want to manage this estate from your grave. For example, you'll say, when I give you that car, you will drive it until death. Don't sell it. The law says, no, that's not possible because what if I can no longer maintain it? I should be able to, if you give it to me, I've given it to me. I should be able to dispose it of.
Don't control me from the grave.
Or where you might have a case where a beneficiary in that will is a witness to that will. That means you did not exercise independence when you're writing this will. You could have been coerced. You could have. So these are some of the things that you might render a will invalid.
Okay.
So what the Administrator General does, as a matter of law, when someone has died, a concerned person must report the death to the Administrator General. And going back to what we've done to bring services nearer to the people, we have, through our regional offices, enabled people from all over, anywhere they're in the country to go to our offices and do that. So when you register that death, a file is opened, and then certain things are done to ensure that, one, the beneficiaries are identified properly, and two, that there is consensus as to how this asset should be managed, especially when the deceased died without making a will. And when all that has been done and there is agreement, the Administrator General issues what is called a certificate of no objection. No objection to the grant of letters of administration to the person that is going to apply, either as a matter of consensus or as a matter of law. For example, as a matter of law, unless there is something really uniquely disqualifying, a widow has priority over every other beneficiary. And that certificate is actually what opens the way for you to go to court and then you are listened to. Without that certificate, the court of law cannot give you letters of registration. So what we've done is over those 4 financial years, 4.5, we have issued 15,911 certificates of objection.
Okay.
That's a big number. We have opened over 24,000 files, meaning these are deaths that have been reported, and we have files. And in most cases, there are disputes.
Sure.
Bitter disputes, as you've said, and we have, and then the Administrator General will mediate these disputes, and part of his job will be to bring to your attention your rights or those that you lack and try to build consensus. Now, where there is no agreement, the Administrator General can apply and now run this estate. But I think the preference is let the family members manage the estates with consensus, of course. So we have resolved 2,203 family disputes. And now, before arriving at a decision, sometimes you may have to go and see what is happening on the estate.
The estate.
So over this period of time, we have inspected 1,638 estates. And in our view, this has significantly improved access to justice and reduced family conflicts, and we have contributed to peace in the country in that manner. Now, these numbers, I don't know what you think, but they tell a story.
They tell a story about society.
If you count from 1 to 15,000 starting now, I don't know, maybe in the morning, that's when you will get to the end.
Yeah.
So, and each case, these are just statistics, but this is a file. This involves work. This involves people looking at a matter over
It's not a one-day conversation.
No, it's not. And so, again, also to improve service in this area, there are also IT improvements in this area. And we continue. It's work in progress, but I think we've really done well.
Okay.
And you've not had many complaints in that area.
Are there any changes that are required for the people who are probably watching to know with regard to estate administration, or any changes in regulations or the law, what is expected?
No, we just had,
in the recent past?
I think last 1 year or two, we had the Succession Act amended to make it simpler and to also give clarity on certain aspects, especially on the area of who is a beneficiary and how estates are divided up. But what I could really say for public consumption at this point is this culture of fearing to make wills needs to be looked into, and it should stop, because that's the cause of
When
most
do I start
disputes.
making a will? At what age, at what point?
As soon as you acquire anything in your own name, be it a car, it's a TV set,
okay,
it's a watch like the one you are putting on, you can write a will to make sure that in the event, because each one of us is mortal, in the event, and no one ever knows when it will happen, in the event of your death, there is no question as to whom you wanted this asset to go to. Once that is done, it's done properly, then 99.9% of all the disputes will be resolved. And it's not that difficult. A will, as the word sounds, is about you stating what you want to do freely. And the most important thing is clarity as to the property that you are giving out and to whom, and making sure that there are at least 2 witnesses to your signature,
okay,
excluding anyone that might be beneficiary
to
in that
will.
estate or interested. And it's good to use lawyers, but the law does not stop you from actually writing it the way you wish, provided you meet those key requirements.
I hope that is a learning point for our viewers out there. As long as you start owning anything in your name, you can actually start writing your will. Stop thinking that while you're writing your will, you're probably causing death or bringing death closer to yourself. But let me come back to you, Dr. Rose. In the dispensation of your work as a Judicial Service Commission, of course, this does not come without challenges. I am wondering, with this huge mandate that you do have, what are some of the challenges that you are currently facing, and how are you probably thinking about addressing them?
The major challenge really is resources.
The elephant in the room.
Budget, yes,
yeah.
yes, the budget, really. The budget to enable the Commission implement its mandate. One of the core mandates is educating the public in law and administration of justice. But we can't reach out there as much as we would like to. And I think you have hosted my officers here on several occasions. That is how we educate the public. And you can see how expensive it is. Otherwise, we would love to be here
every day,
but it can't happen. So we have to go out, and it involves funding, which is very inadequate. We also have another challenge. You know, the structure of the commission is such that only the chairperson is full-time. The rest are the rest of the members are part-time. So they cannot meet as frequently as, you know, they would if they were full-time, because they have their own engagements elsewhere. Hopefully, this will be addressed when the Ministry of Justice embarks on amending the Constitution. The other challenge is human resources. What we have been suffering has been the hemorrhage to the judiciary. You know, people go to seek better opportunities in the judiciary. So we recruit them in the Judicial Service Commission, but when there is an opening in the judiciary, we let them go. We can't stand in someone's way of progress. So we are always having a shortage of staff. Otherwise, the elephant is the budget.
Okay, but also there is another key issue of capacity building, because in the changing environment, even currently as is, there are issues around use of technology, not just to dispense justice, but also because right now some of the cases that we have to deal with are technologically based. So if you don't have judicial officers who have the technical know-how of, you know, there's always been this infamous joke, but it was actually the reality, that there was a case being handled, and instead of taking the CPU, because it was a technology-based case, the officer took the monitor. And yet the information is actually embedded in the CPU. So I'm bringing that in the context of how best you are dealing with building capacity of judicial officers to handle complex cases as they do come.
The judiciary is doing that very well. They have a larger budget, first of all, to train their officers. The good thing is now, more and more judicial officers are going out for training in many of those complicated cases. So the capacity in the judiciary is there. The judiciary is investing in equipping its staff in the latest technological skills, and as my colleague mentioned, now they have ECMIS and so many other systems are coming on board. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. JP, if I may return to you, we started off by you congratulating the NRM over 40 years. That takes us back to the protracted guerrilla war, the wars that we've been able to go through. And there has always been a conversation, not just in the political times, of war debt compensation. It's still a conversation in Ruwero, it's a conversation in the northern part of Uganda, it's a conversation in the eastern part of Uganda. How is the ministry looking at this, and what has it done with regard to war debt compensation for the victims or those affected?
Okay, as you have correctly contextualized your question, our country is both young and old in a way. Young in the overall picture compared to other countries, Britain and others, as political entities. But old in the, considering what it has gone through since independence and even before. So we've had conflict affecting different parts of the country. Ruwero, yes, but we also had conflict in the Greater North. It happened for so many years, and some losses were suffered, especially in terms of livestock. So the government, through cabinet, decided that the people in the greater north benefit from affirmative action to enable them to restock their area with cattle. There was a similar program previous years for the Rural Triangle, and it's also ongoing in some way. But now what we're dealing with at our level is the north. And over the years, government has raised money to help with the restocking of northern Uganda. So far, through the ministry, we have compensated, or the government has compensated 28,466 war debt claimants with a total of 158 billion shillings. It's a process, as you would understand. It involves verification. It also involves in mobilizing resources in the midst of so many competing priorities to be able to compensate those that lost, especially livestock, in the course of the war. The biggest job really has been verifying who is the rightful claimant. Because everyone is going to come up and claim that they lost.
Some are even deceased.
Something, yes. But we've been working with the local authorities to identify those that lost, how much they lost. And then also, of course, in identifying their descendants who are entitled to compensation on behalf of their deceased parents. But now, for the benefit of our viewers, we are transitioning from compensation in terms of cash to restocking, the restocking approach. Because when you give people cash, first of all, we are clear on the objective. It is about restocking that area. That's not just important for the people in that area, but also for the overall economy of the country. So when you give people cash, they have many conflicting needs. Some money will be squandered. Some will be spent on non-essential things. It's only human that when people have cash, they will get ideas, which does not help them, does not help the government. So that's why government has come up with now the idea that let's now give them physical animals, because there we are sure we have achieved our objective. And now we have put in place an arrangement with the Office of the Prime Minister, which has the infrastructure for purchasing and distributing these animals. And we are working with them to ensure that going forward, even before this, I think before this financial ends, there could be some restocking done. They are working on a program and a method of purchasing and delivering these animals. But in terms of the cash that we have already given out, I've given you the figure, 158 billion, and more money will be availed by government every financial progressively as resources come in. As I said, there are so many claimants. It's a big region, and therefore that's not something we're going to do in 1 year or one financial year or 2 financial years. It's something we have to do over a long period of time.
Okay.
But we've been doing that, and I think if you go out there, you'll find some claimants who have been compensated.
All right, a good approach right there, because sometimes money brings a totally different approach to where people view things. But Dr. Rose, if I could come back to you on what success looks like to you on your side of things, especially particularly looking at the performance indicators. Yes, you have appointed, you've recommended these judicial officers, they've started working. How do you measure? Because even myself, my supervisor gets to measure how I am working. It's not just about, showing up at work and then clocking in and out. How do you measure performance of the different officers to be able to track that you're getting value or not?
It depends. For example, on the side of the Judicial Service Commission, our success really is meeting the demands of the judiciary in real time. If they make declarations, we must make sure that within 1 month, we have attended to those demands. So if it's about recruitment, we have advertised, and when we advertise, we spend some 2 weeks to enable applicants lodging their applications. Then interviews should begin maybe within the 3rd week. At most, it's really 1 month. That is a success. Now, going beyond 1 month, it means laxity on our part. Now, if I may look at success on the side of the judiciary, they are given key performance indicators. They are allocated cases. A judicial officer really should not spend with a case for far too long. They should be able to control those courts. Sometimes the delay is not by the judicial officers themselves, but the lawyers. The lawyers play all sorts of tricks to delay the cases, so they must be in control. And really conducting themselves in a professional manner. You find a judicial officer has got 5 complaints against him or her. That is not a sign of, good conduct. It's not a sign showing that this is a successful judicial officer. So really working, according to set goals to ensure that, they meet the targets. Setting targets is key. So when they meet targets, it's really measured as a success. Okay. Because they don't meet those targets, that's why you find they have so many case backlogs.
Understandably so. We'll continue to look out for those targets actually being met. But coming back to you, JB, I know that there's been a lot of institutional reforms going on across different government ministries, departments, and agencies. What is happening on the side of the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs? Some of the reforms that you have taken to better, give services to the Ugandans.
Okay, thank you so much. Indeed, we have not been left behind in terms of putting in place changes that will help us improve our service delivery. And this has happened mainly, well, it has taken a bit of time, but maybe stretching back to 15, 20 years. But over the last 5 years especially, we've had some very, very fundamental changes that we think are helping improve service delivery. And I think the feedback from the public is encouraging. It shows that we've made the right choices. I've already mentioned one. Management and performance of work through electronic means. I mentioned the EDMRS earlier on, which has enabled us to receive and do work online, enabling us to do work from wherever we are, but also to monitor for those in supervisory positions. That has definitely led to a lot of improvement. Maybe for you to understand this better, I need to tell you, beyond representing governments in courts of law, or managing the estates of deceased persons, what else that we do? We, for example, when in the line of advisory work, as you know, one of the responsibilities of the Attorney General is to review and advise on contracts, agreements, treaties, or anything called agreement to which the government is a party or in which it has an interest. And that means so many things. That means a lot of work. So the law says anything in which government has an interest, as long as it's an agreement, by whatever name called, the Attorney General must give guidance before you sign. And right now, that means anything that has, of course, monetary value. We are talking about any contract that is 200 million and above. That can also mean anything. Any agreement between Uganda and Kenya, any agreement between Uganda and China, any agreement between the government of Uganda and Total, production sharing agreements. It means anything. We do that, and looking at the numbers that we have, you really have to think creatively to see that you do this sort of work. I mean, the workload. When you have that sort of workload, you need to work hard. So we've adopted technology as one of the things we've done, but we've also undertaken internal reforms. We have restructured our office, the Attorney General's chambers, which is the biggest component of the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, to create departments that speak to the issues that we deal with. So there is now specialization in the office. Previously, we had general departments. For example, there was a department called Advisory Local Governments, but it didn't quite speak to what we do every day, because those are departments that were set up in the 1990s. So today we have departments that deal with subject matters, and that has enhanced specialization and expertise through focus. And also, as I've said, we've created offices across the country. We have had offices in certain historical regions of Uganda, Mbarara, Gulu, West Nile, but now we've gone further to bring in more offices. I mentioned a couple of them, Soroti, Iganga, Kabale, we're going to Masindi. So all these are improvements institutionally, structurally, that we have put in place to enhance service delivery. And I will tell you, for example, as a result of that, of course, I will tell you, we measure our performance by so many ways. There's qualitative and there's quantitative.
Quantitative.
So
the numbers matter.
The numbers matter, but also the quality. The quality, and that's why I mentioned specialization. When you have people who are dealing with a certain clear line of work on a daily basis, they get better with time. And that means they'll be quicker and they'll give you a good product before it goes out. So, but in terms of numbers, we have dealt just one financial year, 2023-2024. We reviewed 7,800 contracts.
Okay, right.
And our target, of course, is 14 days. And in that regard, I think we registered about 80% success. Those are definitely big numbers. But if you talk about the entire 5 years, the 4.5 financial years, we have dealt with 25,937 contracts. So that is advice on a contract. It's a clear contract, it's a commercial document, but also legal advice on any subject. It could be on an employment matter, it could be on a legal, international legal question, it could be on whether or not a chairman of a district local government should be censured. It could be anything you can imagine. So we've rendered over this period 2,665 legal opinions. We have also reviewed 2,825 memoranda of understanding, enabling smooth and lawful implementation of government projects, but also ensuring that there is harmony within the government machinery. But again, as I said, we are striving for even better results. But I think so far this has led to a positive impact across the government, and this is thanks to the reform that we have undertaken
Sure.
over the last 5 years.
Those are quite some good numbers, and especially when you talk about the fact that numbers do matter, but also we get to look in depth into the quality of the numbers coming through. Dr. Rose, let me come to you on how you as the Judicial Service Commission actually get to collaborate with other justice institutions to be able to enhance coordination and effectiveness, because when we are talking justice, we talk about an entire chain from the beginning where it does start, and that is probably from the police through the ODPP all the way to the last man at the chain, who is the prisons, which is also supposed to uphold justice while dealing with the inmates.
Yes, collaboration is the key in the Judicial Service Commission. Let me start with the prisons. We visit prisons quite frequently. We interface with the prison inmates, prison warders, and we hold engagements, training engagements. We also interface with the police. We interface with the judicial officers through workshops and barazas, as well as the public. We also encourage other people who need our services to write and request for those services, and we offer them free of charge. The cost to prepare and to get to where we are needed is ours as Judicial Service Commission. Then when we are invited, like when the judiciary organizes court open days, they invite us and then we go and participate alongside them. Okay. So really collaboration is a key part of our function.
Now that you mentioned the prisons in there, I would like to come back to JB. How is the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs dealing with aspects around speedy trials? Because more than half of the prison population are remandees. These are people who haven't yet been convicted. It talks to just how much time we are taking with the cases. How are we dealing with ensuring that there are speedy trials and that at least we can be able to reduce the number of people who are on remand, or just how much time they take on remand, because there are people who have been on remand for as much as a decade?
The issue of big numbers of remandees, meaning people in detention but who have not undergone trial and conviction, we share the concern that everyone has. But then this concern actually goes beyond our ministry. It's a concern of the government. And we've been having an approach that involves the efforts and coordination of all institutions involved in the justice, law and order sector. Prisons, the Office of the DPP, the courts of law, obviously, and other stakeholders. So you start with identifying the cause of the problem. It goes back to the elephant in the room. Resources that do not allow each of these key institutions to have all they want or all they need to be able to do their work. The Office of the DPP has been working hard to ensure that trials take off on time. But in that, of course, they have to work with the judiciary to ensure that trials are also conducted in a speedy manner and concluded. So there are ongoing coordination efforts towards that. And the DPP, and they also come here one of these days to talk about what they have been doing in that area. They have also been recruiting more officers to be able to take on as many cases as possible. They are also expanding, establishing offices across the country and coordinating, because that's very key. So when an officer from the DPP's office is ready to proceed with the trial, the judge or magistrate must also be ready. These are ongoing efforts, but as I said, it is work in progress. It is a concern that is well understood and constitutes an important plan for the future, as well as the present, how to deal with this issue of the number of remandees. The prisons, of course, will first tell you that they need this addressed as soon as yesterday, because it leads to challenges with space, even within prisons.
Definitely.
Yeah, but as I said, this is work that involves different institutions, and our job is to coordinate those efforts, including efforts towards securing resources, both from within our own sources, but also from external partners. Yeah.
All right. Dr. Rose, let me come back to you. In recruitment, in recommendation, in dispensation of your work, I know that one of the biggest conversations that comes through also from the public is how that or this judiciary reflects Uganda's diversity. Is that something that you ever come across or deal with on day-to-day, or with the fact that, yes, we need to have a representative judiciary of how diverse the country is, and how do you deal with that?
Yes, of course we do. It's of critical concern to us as a commission, but then it starts off somewhere.
Okay.
Do people from all parts of the country respond to the advert? You may find that, you have advertised, but there is no single application
coming from a particular place.
From a particular place. Year in, year out, So you may find that in terms of recruitment, there is almost no representation from that particular area. Then you find that some areas are oversubscribed because they respond to the advert. Maybe one may say that people from other regions do not get to know about the adverts in time, which is really not possible, because those who should be responding to adverts are actually based in urban centers and have access to that information. They can buy the newspapers, they can learn from their colleagues who have seen it and respond. But when we are recruiting, we weigh and we try to address interests of different groups, of course, depending on performance in the interviews. You are not going to recruit a person, say from, I wouldn't like to use that example.
Region B or place X.
Okay, region
Yes.
B or place X, simply because it comes from region B or place X, but has actually not performed well in an interview. That person must be able to compete with the others.
Okay. Very important right there, and I can see how tough that definitely becomes when we start questioning and saying, these names are all coming from this particular region of the country. Why is it? And you have to go back and forth to give that explanation. Our time is really getting fast spent. But JP, let's talk about The status of plea bargaining. I know that we were earlier talking about alternative dispute resolution, but plea bargaining is also another aspect that could help us speed up the process. What is its status in our judicial system, and what mechanisms are we putting in place to emphasize it even better? But also how you are managing to ensure that officers are well equipped to handle emerging crimes. For example, the issues to deal with monies, the aspects to deal with cybercrime right about now.
Okay, plea bargaining is now very much part of our legal architecture and practice. That is a program that was started under the auspices of the Justice Law and Order Sector Program, whose secretariat is actually housed in the Ministry of Justice. And it was encouraged, but also made part of our laws as an option with criteria when that can be considered and used. It is working. It is working. It's just that these things are never really advertised out there. I don't have figures off the cuff, but what I know is that, yes, it has been used and explored and used in certain cases. In fact, not long ago, we were dealing with, at our level of giving advice, a case where someone was convicted under a plea bargain for a crime under the Anti-Corruption Act and sentenced to a fine. And then the question was, does this person get disqualified as per the law from holding office for 10 years? And that question was raised, and we had to say yes, it's a conviction like any other, and therefore the consequences apply to this person. I'm just using that to show you that it's there, it's working.
It's existent.
It's existent and it's being used.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, regarding dealing with the
emerging crime,
emerging
crimes, cyber crimes.
First of all, we recognize that these are areas that are new and will require new sets of skills.
Yes.
And a new understanding. So we are adjusting, and this is mainly through the Office of the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, through training, through working with the sister agencies within government. And when we talk of training, we're not talking about training in just one area, but we're talking about the entire chain. CID, the police have to be trained, the IGG, and of course the prosecutors in the Office of the DPP. They are also working hand in hand with the similar agencies in other countries, as well as those under the UN, not only to understand this new area, but also to work together in case crime is detected and how it is fought. And these cyber crimes especially, which you mentioned, they tend to be transnational. So you have to work with others. So there are fora where these agencies meet and they share experiences and also work together. But it is work in progress because you have to adjust. You have to adjust to new challenges and also try to be ahead where possible.
Okay.
But what I really could say on that is that it's work in progress. It's people are learning, people are adjusting. I don't have figures, as I said, or rather on this one. I don't have figures as well. But I think the DPP, when they come here, they'll tell you where they have, the extent they have achieved success through convictions, which has happened in this area, meaning they are adjusting. They are not exactly far behind wrongdoers in this area.
Okay.
Yeah, but it starts with recognition that this is new and that the world keeps changing. You have to change approaches and also your skill sets.
Okay. Dr. Rose, our time is really fast spent. How does the public get to interact with the Judicial Service Commissioner? How do they get in touch as they also better understand your role?
One, they are welcome to visit us directly. Okay. Currently, we are located at Kingdom Kampala building on floor 8. But at the end of March, we will be shifting to our new offices located in Naguru, Jealous House. Secondly, we have our website, www.jsc.go.ug. So they can visit the website and learn more on the services offered. We also have a toll-free line, 0800 100 221. There is always somebody at the other end of the telephone. They can call in to make inquiries or even to lodge complaints. They can meet us in the community engagements we participate in. We are frequent guests of POESA in Masaka. They always invite us. We also participate in the Judiciary's Court Open Days. We on our own stage barazas in different parts of the country, and we always inform the public on our presence. So they are welcome to come and interact with us there. We have offices in Moroto, Masaka, and Mbarara so far, where people can go and acquire more information on JSC. We have published a lot of materials, among which is the Citizens' Handbooks. We also have other brochures which talk about the mandate of the Judicial Service Commission and also explain some of the critical laws which affect the public. So the JSC offices are always open.
All right. We'll also get your parting shots as we get to conclude this conversation.
First and foremost, I would like to thank you, the moderator, for the kind of questions you have been asking, which I believe have helped the viewers out there to understand more about JSC and our relationship with the judiciary. I would also like to thank our viewers for having attentively watched this show, and I wish them a very good night, or shortly
good morning, very, very soon. But thank you for sparing your time too as well. And JB will definitely be getting your parting shots as well on the conversation.
I also thank you for hosting us, for the issues that you have raised for the benefit of our audience. This is important because this is accountability, but it's also an opportunity for us to let the public know what we do and why it is important to them. And that's why they maintain us through their taxes. This is very important. We are available also in case anyone has any issue or question they want to raise with us. Presently, we're on Parliament Avenue, just opposite the main entrance to Parliament. But soon we shall also be shifting to Naguru. That Jealous House is jealous in the sense that it brings together all the institutions under jealous. Prisons, DPP, Judicial Service Commission, Law Reform Commission, Ministry of Justice. So we are available.
You'll be our neighbors very soon.
Yes, and we operate an open door policy, and we also welcome complaints where our people have, our officers have fallen short of our standards. And also I also thank our viewers, those who have been following, and we promise to continue to do our best to serve them. And I'm also wishing them a good night and a good morning.
Definitely, it's a few seconds to the good morning. I also want to say a special thank you to you, John Bosco R. Souza, who is the Director Legal and Advisory Services at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And I also did have Dr. Rose Nasali Lukwago, who is the Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission. And to you, our viewer, for joining us on this very important conversation. We want to say thank you so much for sparing your time. I am Mildred Tuhaise. Allow me to say a very good morning to you and God bless you.